So CNN has a new exclusive, and it's about the text messages between Ashleigh Merchant, the attorney for Michael Roman, one of the co-defendants in the Donald Trump RICO case in Fulton County, Georgia, and Terence Bradley, who is the former law partner and was also representing Nathan Wade in his divorce case at one point. Now, Terence Bradley was supposed to be a star witness for the defense in the disqualification hearing for Fani Willis, but when he was told to get back up on the stand and give more testimony about things that were not actually covered by attorney-client privilege, he started to give a lot of "I don't recall" or "I was speculating." So it became problematic, and in my opinion, it's not really credible for either side. Now, with these text messages coming out, CNN says that there's 413 total between Terence Bradley and Ashleigh Merchant that have been going back and forth for several months leading up to this disqualification hearing. If you were able to catch that hearing this Tuesday, you saw some shock coming out of Ashleigh Merchant's body language. I would even say anger or frustration that Terence Bradley on the stand was suddenly like, "Oh, I don't know," or "That's not what I said," or "I didn't say it like that," or "I don't recall," just over and over and over. So these text messages coming out are kind of important for people to see because they can see the text on the screen themselves. CNN here reminds us we're only going to get a peek at some of these text messages, but maybe all 413 will become public. But right before they get into the text messages in this article, CNN reminds us that Steve Sadow, Trump's lead attorney, had asked Terence Bradley while he was on the stand on Tuesday, "Why would you speculate what she was asking you when she was asking you a direct question about when the relationship started?" And then Terence Bradley responded, "I have no answer for that." And then Steve Sadow says back, "Except for the fact that you do in fact know when it started and you don't want to testify to that in court. That's the best explanation." Then we get this first peek at a text message. It starts on January 5th. This is not the first text message in this series. It's just we're starting in the middle of it, guys. So Ashleigh Merchant, iPhone 2, says, "Do you think it started before she hired him?" On January 5th, 9:52 a.m. Terence Bradley gives two replies. The first one says absolutely, and there's a timestamp for also 9:52 a.m. The second one, "It started when she left the DA's office and was judged in South Fulton." Now, that would put the relationship start time before March 2022 and before Nathan Wade's appointment as special prosecutor in the Trump RICO case. So, but we don't have a timestamp on the second text, but at the same time, there's no question asked for further clarification in between them. And, sometimes when people text, they send enter or send when they're just doing a line break between one line, one sentence. But they're saying all of it kind of all together all at once. Personally, that's how it looks to me, that these are back-to-back messages. So CNN goes on. We're going to skip the fluff here. Over months of text, Bradley on a number of occasions disparaged Wade and Willis, calling them arrogant as F. In one January text to Merchant, Bradley also indicated that he didn't want to be directly connected to the allegations. He does not want his name in this mess, and expressed a desire to not be named as the initial source of the information. We could probably all speculate that. A lot of us were guessing that while we were watching him take the stand again this Tuesday after giving his first testimony and then having to meet with Judge Scott McAfee in chambers to have a private conference about what exactly is protected by attorney-client privilege. If you were watching the hearing with us on Tuesday or got to watch it on your own, I'm curious to know if you got that same vibe where he was sitting there testifying and it seemed like he just didn't want to deal with this anymore. He never wanted to be known as the one that was sending these texts to Ashleigh Merchant. The next line here in this article says, "I protected you completely," which is what Merchant told Bradley about the draft of her motion to disqualify. "Not that you need protection," Merchant texted, "but I kept you out of it." Well, we know that's not the case anymore because he's had to take the stand twice now and meet with the judge in chambers. And Terence Bradley has had his whole business exposed. Whether it's true or not, he's at least had allegations that he engaged in some awful things, some bad conduct with people that either came into his firm as a client or were working for him. Some of it is alleged to be non-consensual, and whatever the veracity behind that might be, it aired out his laundry, him having to take the stand, because they brought those things up to try to impugn his credibility. So he was brought all the way into the mess after he said, after he was told, kept you out of it. Which, just as a reminder, it's kind of the way it's going to go most of the time, right? So he says, I really appreciate you keeping me out of, Bradley replied. And then we had another text message preview here. So Ashleigh here on the right says, it is my hope they do the right thing before them. Presumably talking about Fani and Nathan, just saying, hey, let's relinquish this to somebody else. We're stepping down. This was sent on January 24th this year at 10:11 a.m. Terrence replies back, you are my friend and I trust you. They will not, ... They're arrogant as, quote, F. She thinks she won the other day when she didn't have to be deposed. I wonder how he knows that, right? Is he just speculating there? Or does he know that from someone somewhere? Is he still acting like a mole? When was the last time he communicated with someone that would be able to give him that type of idea? Or is it just pure speculation? This text message shows Terence Bradley communicating with Ashleigh Merchant, January 24th. Despite his desire to remain behind the scenes, Bradley provided Merchant with the names of several people he believed to have firsthand knowledge of when Willis and Wade's romantic relationship began. Subpoena them all, Bradley says in a text to Merchant on January 7th. All of them. Subpoena them all. Referring to a list of names that included other prosecutors. So other prosecutors in the DA's office, members of Willis's security detail, and others close to her. At one point, Bradley and Merchant even discussed subpoenaing Willis's children to confirm the existence of a romantic relationship between Willis and Wade. Now, I'm not sure if that just comes down to personal knowledge or maybe because of the trips and visitation, but guess they were on the list. But Merchant ultimately failed to secure testimony that the relationship began before Wade's appointment from more than one of the witnesses she discussed with Bradley and subsequently subpoenaed. That appears to have forced Merchant to call Bradley himself, so he wasn't Merchant's first choice to call, but Merchant suddenly has to go back and say, said I would protect you, but sorry, you're all I've got. Subpoenaing you, calling you to the stand. So Bradley takes the stand, and we're here now. But wait, there's more, and I'm going to try to read them to you so you can see it. I'm going to be real tiny on the side of the screen. But on September 18th, 2023, this is coming from Megan Kelly. She did them on her YouTube channel if you want to go and watch that video. But to pull the screenshots to see some more text messages, we're going to go through them here. So 9/18/2023, Ashleigh says, any idea who I could get an affidavit from on the affair? Terence Bradley, no one would freely burn that bridge. Ashleigh says, okay, if Chris was asked under oath, would he know? I don't know who Chris is. Is Chris someone that we know of already? And then Terrence says no. So Ashleigh says, wow, I figured he would. I didn't expect them to be so careful. And then there's an emoji. And then there's a text message down here. It's real small. It says, he knows, but he won't admit it. And then we've got, it looks like we're missing a message, but the first one I can see, we're now on January 5th. It says, I assume you knew about the trips. Wow, wow, wow. Insane. I'm shocked. Well, not really, but somewhat. And then Terrence says, no, I didn't. When did it happen? So Ashleigh replies, and they're texting back to back. This is 9:39 and 9:40 a.m. coming from Ashleigh Merchant's phone, and Terence Bradley's responding at 9:40 and 9:46 a.m. So then Ashleigh says, last trip was this summer, May or June. Terence Bradley says, no, I didn't know. I was gone by then, presumably from the law firm. Terrence says, doesn't surprise me. They took many trips to Florida, Texas. And Ashleigh adds, and Napa. And then down here, Terrence adds, California. And then it continues, when she moved her daughter there, I can't believe they were so carefree. I am trying to anticipate her response when I blow this up. Her daughter flunked out of FAMU and moved to Cali. And then Ashleigh does a laugh react, like the iPhone laugh react at the her daughter flunked out message. Then says, dang, they had a full-on relationship. Insane. Just insane. Terrence says, he went with her to help her move her, meaning the daughter. Ashleigh says, why she would hire him is insane. Yes. Just date him. Don't hire him. Let me know if you agree with that advice. Then we get do you think it started before she hired him? Absolutely. That famous word from the Tuesday hearing. It started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. Ashleigh likes that message. And then Terrence says, they met at the municipal court CLE conference. Ashleigh says, that's what I figured, when he was married. Then Ashleigh sends, is this accurate? Upon information and belief, Willis and Wade met while both were serving as magistrate judges and began a romantic relationship at that time. Terrence says, no, municipal court. Ashleigh says, thank you. And then Terence Bradley says, but you can't put where they met. Not many people know that. I might be one of only, not even Chris Campbell. So now we know who Chris is. Chris Campbell. Who is Chris Campbell? Should I know that name? And then now we're moving one day ahead. These are starting on January 6th. I really appreciate you keeping me out, but I think you need to add me in the footnote 15 because I had a contract as well. That way it doesn't seem like I was involved. So Terrence is instructing Ashleigh Merchant, please put me in the footnote. It'll look better. It'll make it seem like you're telling me enough that it keeps me distanced. What? So Ashleigh's like, okay. And then Terence Bradley says, it's okay. Add me to footnote 15 and how much I made. And then Ashleigh said, I took you out. I can add that back. Exclamation. Good point. Yes, add it back, Terrence says. And then Ashleigh says, anything else? Anything that isn't accurate? And Terrence says, looks good. Down here, covered behind the watermark. Then Ashleigh asks, how will they react to this? Attack me? Give this stupid no fear or favor speech? And then Terrence says, that's another conversation. And in parentheses, Sonia Allen. No, they will deny it. No way. They won't attack you. And then that's all from the Megyn Kelly video. So that's what I was able to find. I'm sure maybe that 413 texts, all of them will become public record. Someone will get a hold of them. I can check in the morning. But that's a lot just from what we saw. And yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on all of that? Because it sounded a little bit different when we were hearing it in that slow testimony on Tuesday where I don't recall. So you don't remember telling me that this was accurate? Except the municipal court thing? You're like, I don't know. I don't recall what I don't recall. So that's kind of a quick update. And just while you're letting me know your thoughts, drop something in the chat if you're watching this on the premiere, or leave a static comment if you're watching it while it's post-published. But just as while we're closing out, here's a flashback to Terence Bradley on the stand, realizing he's being presented with some damning evidence.
Was 2 pages of text messages between you and Miss Merchant, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, the first page starts off by saying, Miss Merchant, like, just date, don't hire him. Do you think it started before she hired him? You see that?
You heard the hot mic? So I heard a whisper. Maybe it won't come through on the published video or whatever headphones you're listening to, but there's a dang. And I will link to this specific video in the description in case you want to hear it with your own quality.
You see that?
Oops. All that, I'm going to protect you. I'm not going to name you. Now you're on the stand twice. So let me know your thoughts on where we are so far. There's supposed to be a hearing on Friday where the judge is going to go through motions that are still existing as they relate to the disqualification hearing. That includes all of the stuff, the back and forth about those phone records. So on Friday, we'll have more of an update, but seeing even just a bit of these texts, what do you guys think? What's your overall take on Terence Bradley's credibility? What do you think about these text messages in the relationship timeline? Does any of this matter for the sake of disqualification? And if you have other thoughts about the disqualification hearing's role in the broader Trump RICO trial, let me know what you think about that too. Other than that, you guys have a good one. Take care till next time.